Good afternoon, everybody. It is time for your MOCA Weekly Town Hall once again. My name is Max. I am happy to be here with Renee to my right and Daim down below. Gentlemen, how are you? Good to see you, even if it's just your non-avatars.
Pretty good. You?
I will say it's a lot of pressure when we have no Colborn and it's just the three of us because I'm the only one who has a moving.
You are the face of MOCA.
I'm the face of the stream. I like that background, Renee. Anyways, we have a lot to get to today. We're really happy to have everyone here with us. We are going to spend today talking about what should we call it? It's not really an evolution of MOCA as much as it is like the, I guess, evoked core of everything we've been working on for some months now. We think that what we're going to show you today is going to kind of fundamentally change the NFT ecosystem, or maybe if not fundamentally change it, provide a really necessary and really unique tool by which any NFT project could have literal life breathed into it. So I'm going to let you take it away, Renee, as you talk.
Thanks, Max. I mean, absolutely revolutionizing. If that happens, it depends on the communities that have to help by using it. But yeah, like what we've been building. Let me share my screen. What we've been building is called Soul Weaver. It kind of like leverages the AI tech stack that we have been creating as the museum over the past, it's already over a year since we've started to dig into long-term memory, agentic knowledge, while using very early ELIZA OS beta versions and trying to build agentic personas for our Art Decos project. I think that was in winter in the year from 24 to 25. So in the early 25, we started really tinkering with knowledge graphs and stuff. And over the past 6 months, I would say, we've been building a version of MOCA's library, which was, this tinkering with knowledge graphs, where we said, let's pour in documents that convey information about arts and culture and Web3, interviews with artists, like all the data, pour it into a system, which is called a knowledge graph, and then an LLM structures the data, extracts entities. Let me show you something a bit more eye candy to explain this as like a fundamental layer, so we can dive into Cortex next. So this is the knowledge graph that MOCA has been curating, like in the latest version, the one that we've started to build over the past 6 months with all the knowledge and understanding of the technology, the best frameworks to use, and all that kind of stuff. That's the wrong one. This is the right one. So we have 1,200 documents in our knowledge graph. 23,000 entities have been extracted. So the process, how a knowledge graph works, is you pour in the documents, you let the language model, like an agentic flow, basically extract all the entities from those documents, like PDF files, Word files. We've scraped YouTube, we've scraped blogs, we have transcribed YouTube channels. Like all of these documents can be poured into a knowledge graph.
I want to just interrupt real quick and just say, for anyone watching, we had permission to use all of these documents.
Yeah, for sure.
Made a concerted effort to reach out to the owners of all these documents, whether it was Super Rare or Eric P. Rhodes or, gosh, who else is in there? Plenty of others. But everything that we have for the MOCA internal library that you're seeing here is used with permission. We did not just like train on, copyrighted data that we do not have permission to. Maybe that's neither here nor there, but a nice quirk because we care.
Yeah, so the thing is that something crashed, whatever. Like the thing is, like we've generated this graph for ourselves, and then over the last 6 months, we've been building an open source stack. Like this whole thing will be open source, and people can deploy it for themselves. We can also like visualize these things in 3D.
Whoa.
Makes it a bit more eye candy, so you can fly through your knowledge graph and explore the different data sets, jump from crypto art to artist royalties. Like the whole thing can be explored in 2D, 3D. Like we've been building lots of different applications around this knowledge graph core, like the things that I already explained, like YouTube transcriber, markdown scrapers for your own blogs. You can use these things once this is out to curate your own graphs. And the goal for all of this in the end is that you can do like a simple Q&A. Like, do you have like an agentic flow that can answer like all the questions? Like all of this stuff will be abstracted behind a chat window, so you can talk to the data, and like it explains to you all the answers. Let me show you something. So this is the graph that I'm going to show you in combination with Soulweaver, because it's an NFT community that is very dear to my heart. Cyber brokers and
Josie and Ben.
Yeah, Josie and Ben. It sucks that it is not working. Well, I want to like present it, but yeah, this is whatever. Let's go to the Soulweaver stack. So the thing is, like that in this town hall, I'm trying to convey like a lot. So this knowledge graph thing is going to be open source. Like all these repos are open source, but we are going to offer it as an agent as a service cloud platform. So if you are not able to spin these things up yourself, you will be able to go to our website, which is still work in progress, and like get a subscription, different tiers. Depending on the tier, you can upload more or less documents, and then you can build your own knowledge graph without any technical understanding, and you pay whatever dollars per month depending on your tier. Like we are going to target enthusiasts, we are going to target companies, we are going to have like a free tier to try these things out, and then the idea is to pierce into the AI bubble and make money for the museum so we can continue to fund our efforts in Web3, where it is currently not that easy to find a product market fit, but with this thing that we are going to call Cortex, by serving something that is very important in our opinion when it comes down to conserving knowledge and memory, not just for companies, but also for agents. Knowledge and memory that can persist across OpenClaw, across Nanopod, across Hermes agent, across whatever harness you choose. Like there will be skills, and you can hook it into all of your agents and have like a source for knowledge and for understanding about yourself and about the stuff that you do. Wherever you want to like plug these agents in, they can like harness the knowledge from that knowledge graph from your cortex, and at the same time they can store their own memories in separate buckets, different agents that you have, and can sync those memories. That, for example, the daily markdown files that are being saved by OpenClaw, and have like an understanding of the past that reaches like far down like memory lane, without having the issues of context, context windows being too small. That's something we are solving with this Cortex thing. And 3 weeks ago, I've participated in this global hackathon and was thinking like, yeah, we need to use this technology to give it to NFT communities so that they can turn their collections into living ecosystems. Like turn any NFT from a given collection into a living agent, a living personality. And we were thinking like how to start, and like you obviously start with the collection that you know most about. So I've been very deep into the cyber brokers community, and I know that they have the podcast, which is transcribed on their website. Like they have all of that available as like story on their website. So I grabbed that. I inserted all the different YouTube transcription. I transcribed the entire YouTube channel. We have a transcription app. I'm going to show that another time, but you can like transcribe a channel. It will autocorrect words depending on the data that you already have in your graph. So in this case, like words like cyberbroker, spies, think, can, like all of these different words that are already there, like the system scans the transcription and autocorrects, like an LLM autocorrects text before the documents are being ingested into the system and then analyzed. So all of this has been done. We also like brought in the Substack blog. That was actually the first thing that we scraped and ingested here. So this system, this knowledge graph, has a pretty good understanding of the cyber brokers ecosystem. Like you can traverse this. We also have, for the eye candy, the 3D version of this. Like it really understands the stack. Like it knows what max are. It knows, if I jump to cyber brokers talents, we do it 2D. It's going to understand like the different trade abilities, whatever this community and the lore of this community or that collection like contains. Particular characters, Ashera, the first cyber broker, the originator of the paradigm lost, known for her genetic algorithms. This thing really extracts all the entities and builds up these relationships, like the edges that you see between the nodes. Like this is what this Cortex product that we've been building does, and we've applied it to a Web3 collection. And the idea is to allow any Web3 collection to, go onto the Soul Weaver platform. Like we bring those collections in here, and as a holder, you could then upload documents that convey this community lore for the collection that you hold NFTs of. And then, all the community comes together. The team can, of course, do heavy lifting as well if they decide to. I've did like this whole heavy lifting with cyber brokers on one afternoon. It was like the Friday before the hackathon started. I did the scraping for the Substack. I transcribed the YouTube channel in the second round, and then I aggregated did the other law also before the YouTube channel. But then these 3 sources, these 250 documents, I did that in a single afternoon. So it's not too hard because the LLMs do all the heavy lifting and the analysis of the stuff. So now the collection, the Cyber Brokers collection was already done, like in the currently talk to Dead Fellas. It's like cannot talk too much about it right now, but we are going to explain more about this down the road and probably also be on the town hall with Betty and Psych in the future to explain more. But there are 3 different states. First state is you propose a collection, then the admin of the Soul Weaver platform, which is MOCA in this case, approves it, and then once it's approved, you can upload the documents, and once we say the data is sufficient within the cortex that is connected, like the knowledge graph system that is connected, we unlock it so that you can then see your NFTs across the supported collection as a holder. So right now, Cyber Brokers is the only project that is supported here, and then you can select whatever NFT you want to turn into an agent. Let's do these 2. Like this, really the UI UX for the users who want to like turn their Cyber Brokers, for example, into agents, and then you can see the state of the process here. So it's a multi-step process. We analyze the metadata and the image of the NFT. Then we research the cortex of the NFT. So it tries to put the on-chain data that it has and the name of the broker, like in this case, the NFT already has a name. In other collections, those are just numbered NFTs, as you know, but this will generate a name for your NFT. And all the data that we have on chain is going to the agent goes in and out of the knowledge graph, asks questions around the universe, around the cinematic universe, around the lore of that collection, and puts the persona that you, or the character that you want to turn, the NFT that you want to turn into an agent, into that universe, and understands that west from Edelman, this cyber broker, is a human and not an alien or another particular species from the cyber broker's universe. And it understands the different traits of this person and generates a character. Let me show you a page that's already generated. For example, this one, Sienna Brackish. These are the on-chain traits. It's like a species cultist, talent cultist, warrior class. And then it creates like this huge pile of data. It uses the DNA traits, describes them. And defines a personality for this character that sits inside the cyber broker's universe. But this we really envision this to be the Soul Weaver thing, to be a place where all of the different communities can come together and say, yeah, let's allow our community members, our NFT holders, to turn their NFTs into an agent. And the side effect of this is that you can also curate your own knowledge graph as a community. We can do that within a large museum, MOCA-owned knowledge graph. You can deploy your own and just connect it with the Soulweaver. Like Soulweaver has the ability to not only connect into a single cortex, but we can connect into also the cortexes and communities host themselves using read-write API keys and also read-only. We are currently building this out, but the idea is really to build this central hub that's provided by MOCA, where we can enable communities to breathe life into their NFTs. So this one is like ready with the first step, step 4 out of 5, second last step. We have been using the wording or reuse the wording that emerged from our learning with the Art Decos project, our own PFP project. Like last year, Daim has led the initiative to create, to do what we are doing here in a light version, in a fully automated version. We did that by hand last year for our own collection. If you remember, like we've launched this NFT collection end of 2024. And we have since, we did lots of different stuff with it. And one major achievement was the codex. So this is a codex page. We've been generating these personalities for our own NFTs, and the different field names and all of the stuff was an inspiration, obviously, for the Soulweaver project. So I gave the software like our access to our own documentation from Art Decos and an understanding of the different fields, the JSON structure of these codex pages. And by doing that, like lots of heavy lifting was already like taken away from me. And all of this, like the Cortex knowledge graph product that we've been building over many months, the Art Decos project that we've been building for over a year, all of these things enabled me to build this Soulweaver thing in a single weekend during the hackathon. Otherwise, would have been obviously impossible. But let's get back to Nambazara. Like, let's create the final soul file for this NFT. And this is where we decided to bring in the user guidance. So this codex page that has been generated for the character has like all of the information, as I already showed you. And with the final step where we actually turn it into a soul file, which is the file format that OpenClaw, Hermes Agent, and all the other Claw forks use to bring a persona or an identity to your personal assistant. Like, this is the final step. You could say Zara is the personal assistant of Max Cohen, the writer, and Chad.
I don't know, man. I just a writer's fine.
Lovely dude who does all the amazing the museum art. Zara protects him. So, and then you hit generate soul, and this is the final step where the agentic flow turns all the data from the codex pages and have been generated in combination with the user input into a soul file, which is way less data, way more condensed compared to all the codex data, but it takes into account the writing style, favorite things, the talents, like all the stuff that you saw on the codex page. It summarizes the most important parts from that, and then creates this soul file, which can be imported into an agent framework. And when you search Max, you can like tailor this to your own needs to bring the persona closer to your own purpose, to the purpose of the agent. You can also like regenerate this multiple times. We'll have like a history for each NFT, and can tinker around with this, because like the last final step is really considering the compute amount the most or the at least demanding. So once we have like the whole codex thing, we can regenerate soul files without paying too much money for inference. And that allows the users to go back and forth and refine the prompt. And once they are happy with it, they can either like download it or or do both, publish to IPFS. So we have like a key here. So version 2, I can publish that one to IPFS. And then this is published as a officially signed Soul Weaver Soul. So that key, a private key that's linked inside this repo, proves the authenticity of the soul being generated with Soul Weaver, and like the tracing to the codex page and all of that stuff, and the cortex from which the data emerges. And when we go back to the website, like this is really...
Can I just jump in? I just want to emphasize that like both aspects or both of the two parts of this whole thing Renee is sort of showcasing is pretty incredible, because on the one hand, the sort of contextual understanding of the given project's world building and lore and whatever else information is sort of fed into the system before characters start to be generated, like that effectively allows sort of agentic soul files, characterizations to be produced in like a near automated way or in a largely automated way that don't just sort of superficially relate to the most kind of obvious and like in your face aspects of the project, but can genuinely draw on deeper lore and aspects of what has been built over the years. That's already pretty amazing. But then the second part, the fact that you sort of have access to that knowledge graph built from all the project's context, and can sort of plug that into the agent that you generated, means that in their actual sort of functioning, these characters aren't restricted to knowing the things that were just sort of ultimately stuffed into their own specific unique soul MD files. They have like thoughtful, organized, rational, and like I don't know, browsable is the right word, but sort of like navigable access to all the knowledge that characters in their worlds are supposed to have. And like that in a way I think is even more incredible because, short of doing a hell of a lot of heavy lifting and manual work and setup and system administration and all sorts of bullshit, the details of which depending on what tools you might try to do it with could keep changing from one week to the next. Like there's no easy way to do this, and what Renee is putting together is pretty incredible.
Yeah, as you said, like it's where there's so many different parts that we've been building over the past almost 2 years, really, like since we jumped into Art Decos and really as a team started to dive into AI. Some of us more into the artistic visual part, the prompting, and then others into the infrastructure side and understanding like where we can carve out a niche for us as like a technology provider. But always as a team, never stopping to believe into NFTs as a technology, and trying to whatever we've been doing. Like I can also like go back to Art Decos as a project, like trying to like to do things that nobody else has done before us, um, and always like keeping to move forward aligned in a way with Web3 as a whole, but very open to artificial intelligence and the developments, especially with like local AI stuff like we've been using Ask Venice by Eric Voorhees a lot since they originally came out. Like we've been using their the APIs since the APIs were available basically to generate these codex pages. Thanks to VVV holdings that the museum has, we didn't really have to pay a lot of money for the heavy lifting around this. And then also by prototyping, like everything that we did was very Web3 native and inspired through Web3 projects. We never stopped building around Hyperfire. Untitled has always been exploring 3D architecture in the spheres around Ash and Hyperfire, and we know that that stuff is still going wild and that we can expect interesting things, and that our vision of MOCA, the whole museum with our rooms being there, and having the curators being able to harness all the knowledge about the artists from our library. This
Yeah,
one.
and that library, like the MOCA sort of core knowledge graph, like that, I think is also definitely going to make big waves, because right now, if you want to imbue your agent with some understanding of the crypto art scene, frankly, I would say you're probably shit out of luck, because even if your agent is willing to waste cycle after cycle and turn after turn on searching online galore, there's only so much stuff that's well indexed. There's only so much stuff that's both well indexed and actually accessible to the like agentic browsers. A lot of that stuff is probably not very well cross-linked, but with the MOCA core library, you can actually get to a point where your agents have something approaching to the sort of understanding of crypto art as a scene, as a community, um, as something of a subculture with a history that begins to be reasonably like the understanding that we ourselves, the participants of crypto art, have.
Yeah, and we want to further grow this. We want to like bring in more data. I think it's going to be a task that can go on for a long time. We've been aggregating more and more documents that have been brought to us, recommended to us, that people or entities said like, please, we have this block, scrape it, or I can send you a zip file, and we've inserted that and aggregated it so that this MOCA library in its latest iteration can convey the story of those artists and of those projects that were previously missing. So this is growing, and we even have like a proper skill system for this. So we have cortexskills.org still like kind of in stealth, all of this. We need an API key for a library, and the repo is not out yet, but we already have like everything prepared for the launch of Cortex so that agents can completely on their own like integrate your own Cortex deployment into their harness. We are currently building the website for the cloud platform, which is still work in progress. Of course, targeted towards the traditional businesses that need to have like a knowledge graph to, I don't know, onboard humans. Like we really want to build up like a revenue stream that is kind of independent from the ups and downs of Web3. We are, of course, aware that AI isn't up only forever, but we want to use this opportunity and get like real paying customers into our ecosystem so that we can harness those revenue streams and, of course, bring in benefits for MOCA token holders as well. Like this is currently the tiering, the pricing that we have in mind, like different amount of files, extracted entities using those caps. Those are still placeholders, but you get the idea. Then some query limitations that you cannot like infinitely ask stuff without having to upgrade your tier. And the enthusiast tier should be very generous. We want to make this in a way that if you have an enthusiast tier as an artist, for example, you can build your own knowledge graph and you can design, bring in all the documents, everything around you and your friend artist, like, and have like a virtual assistant or an agent that totally understands you and your work. And we want to give like the enthusiast here for free to MOCA community members. So if you either hold Deco or stake MOCA, so details to be defined, like around amounts and stuff, is still like calculating all of that. But we want to like give you this for free instead of letting you pay $79 or whatever will be the final number per month. We really want to give back to Web3, use the technology that we've built, even in the cloud version, for our community members, give it to them. Everybody else can, of course, self-host for free, but the cloud version will be obviously most convenient. You will be able to just log in, type your name, email address, Stripe payment, and people will, be able to use their own Cortex deployment, which our orchestration backend spins up for them, creates credentials, sends them email with the credentials. They can log in, they can upload documents. And we also like provide the intelligence via APIs like Minimax or whatever else makes sense. Currently, we run everything on a mix of models using Venice. Let me show you this one. Yeah, let me show you the Cyberbrokers one. So currently we use, for those who are curious, Minimax M2.5. This needs to be upgraded to M2.7, obviously. Then for extraction, instruct model, Mistral Small 24B. This also works great with the Ministra 9B. We've tested that on premise. Relationships, we've seen OpenAI GPT OSS 120B be very well for extracting the relationships between the extracted nodes. And all of these setups that you see here is automatically being done for the cloud version. But if you want to do this yourself, if you want to host yourself, you are free to define a base URL and a model ID and an API key for all of these different parts of the application. Whereas the primary model, Minimax, is the one that we use for the deep research and chat modes that you've seen in the chat interface. So this is the main app. And then this is a standalone, very simple chat software. We have another app that is a more complex chat software where you can create like accounts. You have a super admin account. You can create accounts for everyone in your team. This is very interesting for the people who have their, run their companies, have a Cortex business subscription, and they want to allow all of their employees to hook into this. That's something we have. We have this Explorer, again, this one for cyber brokers, where you can fly through your data basically and try to visualize the completeness, traverse the completeness of the data that you have inserted. The idea of Cortex really is that you can have an entire one place where you pour everything in, and then we have like applications around this Cortex which allow you to, for example, transcribe a YouTube channel and ingest all the extracted files directly via API into your Cortex and ingest them. And all the applications that you're using, like the chat application or whatever, benefit from that and reflect that. So Cortex is like the core, and then we are building or offering an app ecosystem around it so that it can get easy to improve it and make it better and better. And while we are doing that, try to make money to keep the boat afloat and ensure that MOCA is not disappearing from Web3. We want to, use the stuff that we've built and that is going to get better and better in a modular way to do the Soul Weaver thing and give back to the NFT ecosystem as a whole. Aside from obviously, making Cortex available for MOCA holders and Deco holders, but we want to, as the institution that we are, we also want to go beyond that and want to build something like Soul Weaver where all of these things come together and we can provide something of value. I mean, I believe that this has value to all the NFT collections that are still standing, that have not left the space. And we are very aware that there are not many left. It's been a brutal bear market, and I was, I think, the only person at the ETH Global Hackathon that I was aware of was building anything with the focus of NFTs, a primary focus of NFTs. There were lots of people digging into AI, post-quantum stuff, very abstract things that highly technically engineering stuff, but something around NFT collections, there was not much going on. There were only 800 people on that hackathon. And prices was 10% of that people were used to when things were bigger for ETH Global at the hackathon thing, let's say 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, this is what we've been working on, and I think Rizzle already reached out to me, wants me on the whip, so I can also talk about this there. I think people should be interested in this. They should take a look at this, should come together and coordinate with the remaining people who are still there, and really take a couple of hours to give us the resource or do it themselves to scrape their blogs, transcribe the YouTube channel, and do that work once, because now that we've done it for cyber brokers, everybody can come here right now. And when this was live, it's not live yet, but we are going to put this live, and cyber brokers will be like the first connection where you can generate soul files and turn your NFTs that are currently just sitting in your wallet without much utility, turn them into an agent, utilize them in ways that were possible before.
Yeah, and that's of course like step one, and the possibilities just get wide open from there. Whether you're doing something I don't know, weird and creative, like trying to do art collaborations with your NFTs agents in your favorite project or series, whether it's something even more out there, like our own liminal mood with the Art Deco AI agent artists as an art collective, whether that's trying to create I don't know, fiction around the lore of the project, or trying to do just about anything. Like once you can talk to NFTs that are effectively living, breathing representatives of a given project or series, that I think is a game changer. And it lets you do a whole bunch of things that up until then would have been like sort of very insular, one man, heavily manual and heavily writing intensive exercises, and turn them into something more collaborative, whether with the AI agent themselves specifically, or whether more broadly within a community. I don't know, AI agents could be interviewing artists of the week for a given project, or high profile collectors of the series. Really, this I think is something that, as you said at the very beginning, Renee, like has every potential of revitalizing the projects that embrace it in like a thoughtful and creative way.
Yeah, and like I just see, it's like you can define for every NFT collection, we can define, or the owner of the collection can define which on-chain trades have relevance. Like I'm not sure if the underwear trade is so important. Like before we let in people
it
to
sounds very
generate these
important.
things, maybe a Melo underwear as a deliberate choice, born from survival, damn depths beneath the city's gleaming surface. Yeah, like these are the discussions that we need to have with the teams, alongside curating the data and mobilizing the community to collect data sources. We need to talk to the different collections and ensure they need to tell us which DNA fields are actually important and which ones
I
have to be
want to sit in.
activated.
I want to sit in on the underwear discussions when they come up.
Yeah, we scan the collection, it finds all the different traits, and then you can check and uncheck them and define which DNA traits should be mapped into the agent creation flow. So yeah, so just to give you a bit more clarity on how this works, and yeah, these different steps they already explained, and we derived this codex with all different fields. All of this is then being used for the final step, where you guide the agentic flow to create the soul file for this particular NFT from a given collection. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I'm pretty sure we are going to talk about this more over the next few months. We are going to take this month and probably also like the first half of May to refine this even more and to flesh it out a bit more, to reach out to people and coordinate and see which communities want to like kick this off with us. While we, on the other side, the Codex side, finalize the product and allow Soulweaver to function on the back end, and hopefully the museum to sustain itself in the future using the knowledge graph product as something that we are going to offer.
That was a very impressive,
You know,
almost 50 minutes straight of talking about this product. Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, we've been following you building this for months now, and every time you show us something, it just seems to get a little bit more complex, more useful. It seems like
Cohesive.
yeah, cohesive. The general NFT world seems more and more in need of some kind of like kickstart in order to like bring back like interest in itself. You know, people like me still belong to these, discords of these NFT projects, whether it's cyber brokers or Bedfellows or Cool Cats or all these other ones, all those, Solana PFPs that I'm involved in. And I think that like the original promise of the PFP, even if it wasn't really like considered as much as like a digital representative in a digital world, and we are now capable of like moving that beyond just an aesthetic representation, but into like a personality driven representation and providing that to any community that wants it. I think even if you're getting a project that has 10,000 assets or 1,000 assets, if you're getting 5 to 10% of people who are interested in like playing around with this, right, we're providing the kind of baseline ability to imbue these things with souls, and then every community can decide what to do with their like, living, talking, acting agents. Like the possibilities for that are just like really, really endless. Like I want to know what people like interesting and interested and curious developer teams will do with this information, will do with this capability if they have, 50 people, 100 people in a Discord server who are really interested in like seeing where this goes. So I think it's really exciting.
Yeah.
We are, I think, very aligned internally on how exciting it is.
and again, like as I said, it took me 2 or 3 hours on my own using the tools that we've built, like the YouTube channel transcriber, the Markdown scraper, using these tools to get all the material for cyber brokers ingested into the system, and next day they could get going. So it's not that you need 50 people, it's just that you probably need to communicate it towards 50 people, and then you find 2 or 3, get some URLs, like gather URLs in an Excel spreadsheet, and from there it's easy to do the rest and onboard the entire collection and all the holders into Soulweaver and allow them to generate souls for their NFTs. We really try to build this in a way that the human capacity that's required to do all of it is really reduced to a minimum, but the upside for every human holding the NFTs is
maximized.
extrapolated to a maximized value.
Yeah, and then the other thing I'm very curious about, once we have all this live is beyond, sort of the large 10,000 PFP projects. I'm very curious to see what sort of individual artists with smaller but lore heavy or character driven art series will do, because like there's more than a good few artists out there who had sort of pretty deep art series, or some artists whose entire oeuvre basically encompasses sort of a large, sort of fairly cohesive world building and lore and all that. And like this system is basically going to let an artist who minted 10 characters but actually put thought into what is behind the imagery, and what kind of world they inhabit, and and all that stuff, to take things like a huge step further and embody their artworks from the get-go, right? Like, this doesn't necessarily need to be a got to have an established old large project and bring that in. This could be something that an individual artist working on their next drop decides to thoughtfully and intentionally integrate into their workflow. And when the drop happens, it simultaneously includes both the art and the agentic personification aspect.
Yeah, well said. And I think we already have an artist very close to us who we are going to tinker around together with it.
So, as always, more information coming soon. Gentlemen, that was very impressive, and it was pretty cool. I love to just hear all this stuff, and it's helpful for me as a non-tech person to just hear you going through all this. So that was wonderful. We're so excited to see what happens next with it. Renee, thank you so much for going into detail. Daim, thank you so much for helping provide some context and some, I guess, conclusions that we can draw from Renee's work on Cortex. And we hope everybody enjoyed the presentation. And as always, please reach out with questions, comments, ways to get involved, things that you're interested in. And otherwise, we'll see everybody next week, same time. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.